What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Yes, I'm in Canada. I'm in Toronto. And I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, a solution for someone's problem, and Blackalicious. And want to say a big shout out. This is our second week on Primetime with Aisha LaLa. We're broadcasting also to the Fly Nubian Queen YouTube channel. And thank you so much again, Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia. We could put it right on the screen here for allowing us to broadcast on the Fly Nubian Queen channel. And what we do here is Aisha K. Staggers and Laura LaLa Key. And Laura's not with us today because she's not feeling well. They give their takes on just making the sense and nonsense out of what's going on in America socially and politically. So with that said, let's bring, you know what? I have some stuff to do. Actually, I was going to bring up Aisha, but also want to encourage people not only to subscribe to Fly Nubian Queen and all the platforms that Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia are on, but also subscribe to the Dr. Vibe show on YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification button. Also, make sure you follow the Dr. Vibe show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also, if you want to advertise on the platform here, please email me at dr.vibe@thedrbeshow.com. And also want to encourage you to join the Primetime with Aisha and LaLa Discord group, where we continue the conversation in between the live shows. So email me at dr.vibe@thedrbeshow.com. Now we'll bring up Aisha K. Staggers because she's got a whole pile of updates on what's going on in the world of Primetime with Aisha and LaLa. How you doing, Aisha?
Good. I'm
How's your
struggling
week?
to see a little bit because the weather changed. It went from being cold to being warm, like about to be really warm tomorrow. And so the allergy things are kicking in.
Ouch.
So I'm doing the show with one contact.
Oh, no. Sorry.
Just because the other eye was so itchy and I was just like, oh gosh, it's bothering me. But I see so much better. I feel so much more comfortable without it.
Okay, no problem. Actually, one other thing I want to share with everyone, program alert that's starting on January 6, 2024, which is around the corner. Pride Time Saturdays with Aisha and LaLa will be seen at 7 p.m. Eastern Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Time. So that's the first Saturday of the new year. And next week will be our last live show of 2024. So
2023.
2020. Yeah, I'm already pushing things. 2023. And we'll be running replays over the next 2 weeks, which will be, I think, one's Christmas Eve and one's New Year's Eve, I believe. Or I think, is it? Is it?
Yeah.
Wow. No, I'm wrong. Christmas Eve is it's Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve is the Sunday. So 2 days
Christmas
before.
Day.
I'm going.
Oh, 2 days before Christmas. Yeah.
I got it right. I got it sort of right. So you know what I mean, family. So next Saturday is the last live one for 2023, and then we're going repeats the next 2 weeks, and then we come back in the new year at a new time, but same great stuff. So Aisha, before we get into the content tonight, you got a pile of updates for us. So
yes.
I guess for people, it's the first time we hear talk about the Primetime Saturday show store.
Yeah, we have a pop-up store going on Printify. We've got about 25 products or so, real quality things. Thanks to Jen, who made a purchase. I've made purchases looking at other people making purchases. So yeah, it's a good holiday shop. We're going to move into having a more permanent online store in the beginning of the new year. I'm actually scoping that out. But this is some of our merchandise. We've got candles. I mean, we've got 3 different types of candles, and each candle has different scents. I actually have one, so I'm really excited about it. We've got blankets, leggings, scarves, buttons, stemless wine glasses, coffee mugs, pillows, all kinds of things, sweatshirts and things like that. My mother actually ordered the bag So
Okay.
yeah, so and Jen actually, our Jen, friend of the show, actually ordered the bag and took pictures, and she posted the pictures on Discord. So if you join the Discord, you can see the pictures, and it looks, great product. So I'm really, we're really excited about this. With of course, it has our Primetime Saturday logo. Yeah, so really excited about that, and so that's one of the things that we have going on.
Okay. And then next up, one of the and Aisha's the marketing mayhem right now. Maven, not mayhem.
Yeah,
Well, it's like mayhem every time in
creating
the
mayhem.
history.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like you're in mayhem doing this. But next up, we have a newsletter.
Yes, we have a weekly newsletter, and really the weekly newsletter allows for a recap of the previous Saturday show, but also some things that we're looking forward to, things that we want you to keep on your radar. Sometimes we have different articles and news pieces that you can look at. We've got some videos that we show. This past recap, I was out sick last week, so you guys did a really deep dive into some things, and Lala gave me all the recap for the newsletter to put together. So really went into that. We talked about the Fly Nubian Network having us. We talked about the upcoming Roku weekly show that we'll be doing with Dr. Tachi.
Yeah,
Our
Indie Soup
things
Media.
there.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then people we advertise the store on there, and we also ask for our viewers if they have some news or something that they think that we should be paying attention to, or a story that they want to put on our radar to email the show. We're always looking for new information, and into learning things as much as we are teaching you all about things too.
Absolutely. So those things, if you become a member of the store, I put the link up, and also will put it on all the platforms that people are watching. Also too, we have a Patreon channel.
Yes, and I just also thank you. Got a new subscriber, Jen. Subscribe to the Patreon. So, Patreon, it's monthly subscription for $7, and it just allows us to produce and provide to you extra content throughout the week. So we've got our 10 and 10 series where Lala and I run down 10 topics in the news that week. Um, we do it in 10. We do have a 10-minute version. That's why we call it 10 and 10 that we provide on Discord. But these conversations run at least an hour. So right now there's like 2 hour long conversations back there on the Patreon. And we also, you're going to be able to do polls. We're going to add a blog. Lala's got some things to share in terms of how to invest and save money and do, and look forward to the future and the finance part of it. I'm going to be putting up some things that you need to know about these politicians that are coming up for election, and how to mobilize, how to things and strategies to get your community involved, and those kinds of resources. I'm going to be definitely interviewing different people who are writing books about these issues, because I've done that in the past, and so putting those up. So we're going to have lots of great content. And also too, I've got some contacts with publishers, and so they're giving me books by that are either banned or by people who would typically be banned book people, usually authors of color, LGBTQ authors, and things like that. So we'll be able to give some of those out for free in some contests and things like that. So we're really excited.
Wow.
So yeah, joining our
Lots.
Patreon, $7 a
Yeah.
month. There's lots of different content back there that's going to be back there. We're building it up. We have the ability to do a Q&A. So
Yeah,
yeah,
there are lots of things coming down the pipe. So we are ending off 2023 high and hard.
yes,
High and hard. So we're not waiting for 2024 to happen. We're already into 2024. We're not
yeah,
waiting for that calendar flip over. So again, want to say a big shout out to everyone that's watching Primetime Saturday with Aisha LaLa on the Fly Nubian Queen. Thank you so much. And you're
hmm,
free to make comments, please, please, please. And I see here we've got good evening, Fitnet's IQ Cam watching on the Dr. Vibe show on YouTube, and everyone else. Yeah, let's make it happen. So
yeah.
let's get the first conversation piece up. So, Texas court temporarily halts order that allowed pregnant woman to have an abortion.
So we were initially talking. We were going to talk about how Texas had, well, the judge had allowed this woman to be able to have an abortion. Just so you know, this woman found out she's 20 weeks pregnant, found out that the genetic disorder that her unborn baby has is fatal. The baby will not survive it. And unfortunately, um, she lives in Texas, but the doctor said that if she does not have this pregnancy terminated, it will impact her health, and she wants to have other children, and it will impact her fertility. So on Tuesday, her lawyers filed an emergency um, court case to get the abortion approved in Texas. As you know, Texas has, what is it, a 15-week ban or a ban? No, they have a total ban with certain exceptions. So the judge decided that she met the exceptions. Well, Ken Paxton, he who shall not be named, but also was what, impeached. Was They had an impeachment vote on him as AG because of some unscrupulous things that he did in Texas. He decided that he was going to file a stop order with the Texas Supreme Court. And so what they ended up doing was putting a restraining order out, basically saying that the woman cannot have the abortion until they review the evidence and make this decision for her, not her doctor, but Ken Paxton in the Texas Supreme Court. So these the sad part about it is that these people are making a decision not just about this woman's health, but also about her future. She and her husband want to have more children. They realize this isn't a viable pregnancy, but they want to have more children beyond that. And the Texas Supreme Court and Ken Paxton are going to be able to determine that by virtue of whether or not they allow her to have this abortion.
What is your concern about this particular case?
My concern about this case is that it will set a precedent for places where there is no abortion. Well, there is an abortion restriction, but moreover, if Republicans get control of the House, get control of the Senate, and control the White House next year, what we're looking at is this becoming the law of the land, because they do want to put in an abortion ban. And it would be this kind of draconian ban where, you know, it should be up to that woman and her family to decide whether or not they're going to have more children, not not the court and not the attorney general. And the problem of it is that they're not taking into consideration her health, even though health of the mother is what they have stated in their very ambiguous law. They're not worried about whether or not she can have more children, right? If you're pro life, then obviously you should be able to support the fact that people want to have other children, but to be able to make the decision of how many children she can and cannot have by virtue of deciding whether or not she can have this abortion. What these people don't realize is, and Lala and I talked about this on the exclusive content that you can find on our Patreon. When you are someone who can give birth and can carry a baby to term, there are things that you just, this idea that they're going to make this woman carry this baby that could possibly die before, you know, the full 40 weeks of the pregnancy, which is one, they would have to take it out by cesarean. She's not going to be able to deliver that baby naturally. She already had two prior cesareans. So typically, when you have one, all subsequent, labor and delivery is through cesarean. But because this baby would not be alive, that's how they would have to do that. And a cesarean is surgery. It has its risks, but beyond that, um, having dead tissue in your body, your living body, can cause sepsis. That is a poisoning of the blood. So she's not going to die because if that were to happen, not die or get sick because she had an abortion, it would be because they forced her to keep dead tissue in her body for 20 some odd weeks. We wouldn't do that to anyone else. If you had flesh eating bacteria in your body, they would be like, oh yes, let's go and remove this, because it's dead tissue. It can cause further disease and all of that. But by virtue of the fact that we call this a baby, and it's not an unwanted child at that. Let's not forget that people talk about abortions being a way to take care of a pregnant, birth control after the fact. No, this woman wanted this baby. Her and her husband wanted this baby. It just happened that it's not a viable pregnancy. So what scares me is this overreach, because you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. And this overreach by people who do not have medical skill, are not people's personal doctors, or have any idea as to what is going on in someone's life, being able to make this broad brush decision about other people's lives is just wrong.
All right, thank you. Yes, so but this is just an ongoing issue. Like, is it being are is America dreaming that they don't have a universal policy on abortion? Like, how should right now every state has a different ruling? Then you had
Right.
Roe versus Wade being overturned.
Right.
Should it be left, in your opinion, should it be left to the states to decide? Should it be left to each woman to decide?
It should be left to each woman, her doctor, her family, whatever, to decide. Because here's the thing, you know, they're like, oh, we want to get rid of Roe and we want to kick it back to the states, kick it back to the states. Okay, so you kicked it back to the states. Well, the people decide. The people want to decide what their individual states are going to do. Now that the people are deciding that they don't want their states to do the very thing that they want to do, they're trying to kick it back to the federal government and say that now there should be a federal ban. Well, make up your mind. You can't get mad and say, oh, well, let the states decide, but then get mad that the people in the states deciding don't want to go the route that you want them to go. This is really just a control issue at this point. They want to control how people respond to it being in the states, or whether it should be in the states, and then they want to control people's bodies. You know what? We would have, well, we would have a much easier time and fewer issues on this particular topic if people just minded their business and stayed out of other people's uteruses.
Okay, then because this is an ongoing debate, and do we how much is this going to be a issue for the upcoming presidential election in 2024?
Oh, I think it's going to be an issue, because remember, there's still that other case in Texas where the judge, or Texas or Mississippi, the judge kind of kicked that one down the road too. But that's the one where the medication that they use for chemical abortions, or that people use for Plan B before they even know they're pregnant, that they want to get rid of. They want to take away the pharmaceuticals ability to get this approved through FDA, which FDA already approved it more than 20 years ago.
Okay,
But
so
that's where we
Regina,
are.
hey, hey, Regina, Roe versus Wade being overturned is taking away a ton of Republican voters. These judicial decisions, almost after 50 years of pro-choice, is backfiring.
And she's
She
absolutely right. And
Okay.
the funny thing about it is this: realize it's not just that it's about abortion and people, what people believe, and their morals and their values, whatever. This is also about birthing more Republican voters. Let's be very clear, because remember, their numbers are shrinking. Their numbers are shrinking, and what bothers me is they try to say, well, oh, if they do this, it's gonna have this impact on the Black community, this impact on the Latino community. Meanwhile, you all's policies are hurting those communities anyway. We see what you're doing with the migrant issue. We see the other, you don't care about Black lives, period. So, I'm really struggling to understand why you think that those things are going to move us when you demonstrate day in and day out you don't care about those lives, but the lives that you do care about, the people that you do care about controlling. Because think about it, these people that they are worried about controlling, the main people that are leading these cases in Texas are white women.
Hmm.
It would
Okay.
be it would be a whole lot easier if you all just said what you wanted to say, which is we don't want white women to have abortions because the population is shifting in this country. But the bottom line is this is not your decision to make. This is not a country's decision to make. This is an individual's decision to make.
Okay. Before going any further, long time live streamer Carlos Phoenix says, "Evening, hello, Carlos. Good to see you as always." Regina says 65% of Americans are supportive of freedom of choice.
Exactly. And you know what? That number just even went up. In this latest poll I read, it was 70% now.
Okay. All right. So Fitness IQ Cam, otherwise known as KSF EYL RWFQ. I got it all right this time. Saying she's based in Toronto. She's saying, so how long in the lady's pregnancy that they are trying to halt?
This particular woman, they're trying to make her carry it to term. Um, the I forgot what state it was, but there's a state that just put forth yesterday a 15-day
Wow.
abortion ban. 15 days. Most women don't realize they are pregnant at that point because it takes time for your body just doesn't say all of a sudden 15 days like being like there's a little bell that goes up, oh, you're pregnant. No, it doesn't happen that way. Usually it takes a couple of weeks before you realize like, oh, wait a second, something's not right. And then you have to think about what that something that's not right is.
There you
Okay.
go.
So like I know for me, I just happen to be talking to my best friend, looking at a calendar, and I'm like, wow, it's been like 16 days. Then it was like, oh yeah, maybe I should do that some because something's off. But it's not like women are like, oh yeah, 15 days pregnant, I can tell. You most tests you can't even tell. You used to not be able to tell that early with some of these tests. So, 15 days is ridiculous. You might as well just say no.
Okay.
And that's the whole point, isn't it?
There you go. All right. So Regina said that 70% of freedom of choice. She says good news.
Mm-hmm.
Fitness IQ Ken goes 15-day. And then she says backside. So if you don't know what that means, go look out, go online. She said that's a response she has to the 15 days. And Regina says it usually
Exactly.
takes 20 to 30 days.
Yeah. Yeah, because the question always is, when was the first day of your last period when you go to the doctor and they ask you and start counting back time? Um, and you could have gotten pregnant anytime in between there, but they go by that first day of the last period to determine the time. But you know, I don't think men realize either that, it's also not good for a pregnancy to go over 42 weeks because
Mm,
it becomes toxic for the baby.
mm,
It can become
okay.
toxic for the baby. So, you know, pregnancy is not it is a health it's I hate to put it this way, but it is a health condition, and there are tons of things that can go wrong. I mean, I know I had a high risk pregnancy, so there are a ton of things that can go wrong. So when women have a whole bunch of other things to think about, why put this burden on them as well?
All right. So we're going to take a quick break because after we come back from the break, we're going to get into some big time politics. Lots of politics going on in the United States. When isn't it going on? And we got a number of things that Aisha's going to be sharing about, everything from about 45, maybe being a one-day dictator, to the resignation of Kevin McCarthy. And then another GOP debate that I don't know how many people are paying attention to. So you're watching Primetime Saturdays with Aisha and LaLa, just Aisha this week, on many different platforms, including the Fly Nubian Queen Network. So we'll be back in about 90 seconds. Keep it locked, and thank you so much for watching. We'll be back.
And that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harry Tubman of the mind.
I am.
I feel like I'm the Harry. I'm one of the Harry Tubmans of intelligent Black people. Like I want to liberate y'all from like being left behind and ignored and oblivion. No, really, the rappers get all the attention. Seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant Black people, they'll be all up, getting all the headlines on the Shade Room.
Overly sexualized Black folks.
Like the twerkers and the just people that don't always represent the best of us. The diversity. Like people like Dr. Vibe. Like everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe. Dr.
Really
Vibe he's trying to do good work for Black people. Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him. Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Bob is a real smart brother and a good human being. I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent Black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. A lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. Helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Bob is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Bob show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway.
Okay, we're back on Primetime Saturdays with Aisha and LaLa, and just Aisha this week. LaLa is not feeling well. So we're continuing on. And I guess for the next few moments is going to be all poly tricks. All poly tricks. So it was another interesting week, but let's start off with the former president of the United States, who, if he comes back, says he'd be a dictator if elected. That's just for one day. You believe him, right, Aisha?
Oh, I absolutely do. He's been telling us for months, actually about a year, what he's going to do if he gets in. Okay, so the part for me is that Sean Hannity needs to stop trying to throw this man lifelines. This is like the second time that he's been with Hannity, and he's like said something out of pocket, and Hannity tried to like help him out. You don't mean you'll be a dictator. Well, yeah, I plan on drilling, and blocking people from in bands, and well, that's not dictator. Like, no, I'm going to be a dictator. I won't be a dictator except on day one. Day one. You think that man is going to just get that dictator energy and give it up the next day? Come on. This is the same man who can't decide if January 6th was staged by the FBI, which would mean that all those so-called followers and supporters of his, people that he calls patriots, were hired by the FBI. Or they were patriots that support him and records a song with him that he lies about being a number one Billboard song, which, okay, whatever. But yeah, he is going to be a dictator. You know what? You know why we get this point? Because he has been looking at what went wrong ever since he's been gone. First of all, he is starting to put together this what is it, this project 2025
yeah, 2025. Yeah, I know
2025.
Dr. Tachi had talked, someone asked about that, was it last week or the week before, and I put a link up to it, and Dr. Tachi added some lens on that. But yes, 2025.
They've got a plan for how they're going to govern. He's not going to be swayed into putting in people that he believes are politically correct on the Republican side. everyone that he puts into any kind of position of power will be someone of his choosing that is loyal to him. Now, you can best believe the one thing that he knows he won't be necessarily be able to do is get people in his cabinet confirmed, especially if the Democrats continue to hold the majority. So what will he do? He'll put some people in there to operate for about 90 days and then make them interim whatever. And then he won't have to go the route of having Congress confer these people. He's going to make sure he's going to put in Steve Bannon, Steve Miller. You're going to see Tucker Carlson attached in there somehow. You're going to see all of the horrible people. He's going to get the horrible game back together, and then he's going to add to it. And eventually, if he gets the right combination of people together, and God forbid he gets the House, and if we even lose one Senate seat and they pick up one or two, this man is going to make it so that he can be dictator for life, so that there are no term limits for the president. And then what does he want to do? He will want to pass it on, because I promise you this much, and I thought about this. I was reading the Atlantic's their special January February edition called If Trump Wins, where they've got 24 writers talking about these scenarios. And one of the things that I thought was, if he loses, you can best believe Ivanka will be running in 2028.
What?
Yes, if he loses, you can best believe Ivanka will be running in 2028. Because here's the thing, if he wins and he keeps himself there for life, he's going to set it up so that the person that comes after him will be one of his children. The only child that he really trusts with that level of carrying on his legacy and not as an embarrassment will be Ivanka.
Ivanka. Oh boy.
I know.
But you know what? It is smart though.
Yeah.
Legacy building, very
Yeah,
smart.
but that's the whole thing, that he wants to do legacy building with our government. And I had this conversation with one of my friends when he won, and Trump was like, "Oh, as president, I have this and that." He's got presidential immunity. I'm a president. I can do whatever I want to do. No, because he's confused being president of a country with being president of your own business. When you're president of your own business, of course, you set the rules, you set the policies, whatever. But when you're president of a country, there are rules and guardrails. And that's not what he was expecting, because he's an ignorant, bloviating bigot, and he doesn't know anything, but he likes to pretend he knows everything. So do I believe him? Yes, 100%. He keeps telling us what he's going to do. He says he's going to go after all of his political enemies, even if nobody does anything to him. He is going to go after them. So he's going to have investigations after investigation after investigation. They're not going to get anything done on these kitchen table issues that people are worried about. Inflation, the cost of nothing. They're not going to be able to do any of that. But what the other thing he's going to be able to do, he's going to go with all his business friends and cronies and get rid of all the unions. So all these things that we just saw, the unions had a massive year this year. But what will he do? He'll get rid of that too. He's going to make sure that, again, like he said, the Muslim ban, he's going to do something at the border. He's going to try and deport people. He's going to try and make sure that we do not get to vote again. He's going to make voting harder for people. He's going to make cut money to schools. He's going to make it just unbearable for him and the people that supported him. And this is why the people who support him so fervently support him. America is starting to look like something that they do not recognize. And he's promising to go back to that. And he will.
Okay, just want to shout out to Monique B. You were here last week. Thank you for being here again. And she says, so sad. And
Yeah.
then Regina goes, Ivanka can't go into that, can't go for that into far into fantasy land. The press needs to calm down and wait for the court outcomes. And she also asks, this is a question she wants you to respond to. How is Fox even supporting 45 after the Dominion loss?
Because the people that they rely on for their viewership love him. They are willing, because guess what? They are willing to pay that out and just get rid of the money as long as they can keep their audience. Because if they don't keep their audience and their audience goes to Newsmax or to OAN, Fox loses its they lose its standing, they lose their audience. But guess what they really lose? They lose their deal with these cable companies. Because remember, Fox has the deal with the cable companies where they don't rely on advertisers anymore. They don't care if people say, oh, our advertisers are going to boycott Fox. Remember, because they get a portion of everything you pay out of your cable bill. So that's how they're doing it. They don't care.
It's all money. Follow the money. Follow the money. That's what it gets down to. Follow the money. Like what has changed? But yeah. So when people show you who they are, that's who
believe them.
Believe them. That's who they are. So
I mean, think about it. This man has 91 charges against him. He has nothing left to lose. He is tap dancing so hard not to spend the last of his golden years in a jail cell. So this for him these are desperate times, and desperate people do desperate things. And so he is a desperate man. So he's talking about doing some desperate things that he will then follow through on, because unless he does, the court cases and all this stuff still loom over him.
All right. Got a great comment here for you and Lala, who's not here this week. Monique B says, your channel inspired me to make photos of Nubian queens. I love the content. Our people need this. Much love to you and Lala.
Oh, thank you, Monique. It's nice to have you there.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Well, the election just gets closer and closer. I guess that's something we all have to look forward to next year.
Yeah. And meanwhile, they're doing this. And what do you have? The Republicans in the House trying to impeach Joe Biden. Why? So that Donald Trump can say, well, I'm not the only impeached guy running for president.
It just goes on.
Getting old.
Well, it's interesting. I went last night to see the tribute to the Temptations. I think that it's called "And Too Proud to Beg," and it was really good.
Oh, the play.
The play, yeah, it was really good. And so, as one of the great Temp songs says, "Ball of Confusion."
Yes, "Ain't Too Proud to Beg" is based on a book.
Yes.
By I forgot the guy's name. No, "Ain't Too Proud to Beg" is based on a book by someone who was like an insider. But
great story though.
It is.
Yeah, if it comes to your town or city, I highly recommend you seeing it. We say was its second night here in Toronto last night. It was really, really good, especially the gentleman that played David Ruffin. Really good, and the gentleman the lead Otis, but they was all strong. So kudos if you get a chance. Yeah, if you get a chance to see it, check it out.
If you don't get to see it, it is Christmas time. VH1 is playing the Temptations movie every other day.
And you know what's interesting? In the history, there's been 27 members of the Temptations. Crazy.
Yeah. But I stick with the classic 5.
Yeah, that's really.
Yeah, but the Temptations movie, that's one of our holiday movies. Like I sat here, what was it, Thursday? It was on Thursday. It came on twice back to back, so it's 4 hours each time. I just watched it back to back.
Well, let's get back to politricks. Let's go next. Former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, will retire from Congress at the end of this year. Were you surprised by this announcement?
Boy, bye. That's how I felt about him. Like, bye. And you're not, look, what you're saying does not affect me in the least. And you're leaving. Okay. What's new? Because people are dropping out of Congress left and right. Particularly on the Democratic side, people are tired of the gridlock with Republicans and never getting anything done. On the Republican side, you can't afford to be a Republican anymore. Was Kevin McCarthy, am I surprised he was going to leave? No. His caucus made it very clear that he is persona non grata when they got rid of him. And then MAGA Mike is up here trying to do his best Donald Trump impersonation in the House if Donald Trump were speaker. But this is the part about Kevin McCarthy that tells you he's a coward. Okay, so if you read Liz Cheney's book, you get the thing that he flies down to Mar-a-Lago, and how does he get himself back into Trump's good graces after he said that Trump was responsible for January 6th? Well, he flies down to Mar-a-Lago and he sits and he picks out the orange and the lemon Starburst out of a dish because Trump doesn't like them. And so yeah, that was what he did to get himself back in Trump's good graces. But this kills me. He says he's leaving Congress at the end of the year. Fine, he's not going to finish his term. There will be a special election in California in his seat. But here's the part that gets me. Why is he vying for a position in Trump's cabinet should Trump win?
He is?
Yes, this is the new reporting. So for me, I'm like, oh, you didn't quit because you're tired of what's going on in the House. You quit because you're trying to get in there. But the vice presidency
hold
or
on.
something.
I need some clarification. Didn't 45 criticize him about being weak?
Some people are just glutton for punishment.
Okay. Enough said.
Look, if Trump slapped him down once, he didn't. It wasn't enough. He wants more.
What some say maybe a glutton for punishment?
Yep. I mean, the embarrassment. He's not happy unless he's embarrassing himself for that man.
Regina says would like Gates gone too.
Well, that's an interesting thing, though. Honestly, I did see this on a story last night that there are some people on the Republican side who, the same way that they got rid of Santos, are trying to figure out how to get rid of Matt Gaetz.
That's going to be a tough one because I know 45 loves his Gaetz.
He loves his Gaetz, but the thing with Gaetz is that if DOJ did its job, they could get rid of him quickly because those trafficking questions and those questions about him having relationships or interactions with young girls are very disturbing, but there's some credible evidence there.
Okay. All right. So Regina backed me up in saying that, yes, 45 did say that Kevin McCarthy was weak. So it's going to be interesting.
He has called Kevin McCarthy all kinds of things. And guess what? Kevin McCarthy lines right back up to lick the boots.
Power. That's all it is.
But the thing is that he has none. He gave his power away when he told these people, oh, yeah, just one of you can complain and I'll be gone. I just got to have the gavel in my hand just once.
So Regina comments also Matt Gaetz at 21% approval rating in Florida. Approval rating in Florida poll says. So that's just now. I don't think he's going to go anywhere.
Matt
so
Gaetz,
what do you think Mr. McCarthy's future is going to be?
Pandering to Trump.
People say, well, media reports say he was a very good fundraiser.
Yeah, he's a very good fundraiser for them. But remember, their pool of fundraisers had gotten smaller as a result of the Trump years. So that's one challenge. But the bottom line is Do they really need Kevin McCarthy for fundraising when Nikki Haley has all of the top Republican donors behind her? So no, he's pointless. He's useless at this point. What do I see him doing? I see him going to work for some kind of corporation, something where he will get probably like a $30 million salary a year.
Okay.
Just to sit on a board and do nothing.
Okay. Until he gets in the cabinet. All right.
Until he gets in the cabinet, and even then, he might not want
if
to
he
come.
gets in the cabinet,
right? And then, even then, he might not want to go if the money's right wherever he lands.
All right.
But a lot of these guys end up at banks and financial institutions and things like that on the boards there, where they're drawing these multi-million-dollar, salaries. Just ask Paul Ryan.
Yes. Good point.
Paul Ryan. What's the other guy? Oh God, I forgot the guy's name. But Eric, whatever his name is. But yeah, they used to both have jobs, house. Eric Cantor, those two. They used to both have the House and the Senate, and now they're at these big financial institutions.
Okay. Next up, the fourth GOP debate. You watched it. And actually, if you go on the Discord group, our public Discord group, Primetime Saturdays with Aisha LaLa, you did a very comprehensive background on that, more than I heard on almost any media.
Okay, so first of all, I couldn't find where to watch the debate. It's like it was so obscure. CNN covered it at like 10. I thought it was coming on CNN. I was like, why is it coming on at 10 o'clock at night? But apparently it started at 8 o'clock and it was on News Nation, which News Nation is, they call themselves centrist, but they're more right-leaning. But this sham of a debate, first of all, was monitored by the likes of Megyn Kelly and someone else. So these were unserious people moderating the debate. They were very right-wing.
I was actually reading an article that Megyn Kelly is back.
I know. A lot of softball, low ball questions thrown at them. Some quick observations. First of all, there were 4 people: DeSantis, Haley, Christie, and Ramaswamy. Okay. Ron DeSantis has absolutely no personality. Every time he tried to smile, it was like somebody was sticking a knife in his spine. Okay, it looked so painful for him to smile. He's got resting bee face is what I said on our exclusive content on our Patreon. But yeah, he just his whole demeanor just ugh. Okay, but first of all, my question is why did they have this in the first place? This is the 4th debate. Trump didn't show up. Only 4 people made it. The last debate of they advertised it as the last debate period, but come to find out it's just the last debate of 2023. There will be some more debates before they go to Iowa and then New Hampshire and South Carolina. So okay, it was misleading. Donald Trump tries to beat them by doing his little Sean Hannity interview where he says he will be a dictator. You would think that the question would come up in this debate and they would discuss it. No, not at all. That never came up. They barely mentioned his name. The only person who did at one point was Chris Christie, but the rest of them still tight-lipped about this. Nikki Haley knows that she has all of the donors on her side, so she was a bit more reserved than she had been in the other debates. What worries me, however, and I made this clear on our Discord, is how women responded the day after to her being beat up by Vivek Ramaswamy and Chris Christie coming to her defense. And liberal women were just like, oh, I thought Nikki Haley did so well. And they were just praising her. And you know what worried me when I saw that? when I say liberal women, I'm not just talking about liberal women. I'm being very specific in saying that these were liberal white women, primarily, talking about how great Nikki Haley is. And you know what scared me about that? 53% of white women voted for Trump in 2020, 2016, 52% in 2020. And that scares me, because if these people are looking at Nikki Haley and they're like, oh, well, Nikki Haley did this, and I'm like, you do realize that she is just as dangerous as Donald Trump, because maybe even Donald Trump is dangerous to democracy as a whole. Nikki Haley is dangerous because she knows how to put that stuff into legislation. She's had lots of years of practice doing it. But that worried me. Vivek Ramaswamy was just being a total the whole time. That's his shtick. He went so far to say that January 6th, we know it was made up. There's this and that. And then Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis did something really weird where they were trying to out-transphobe each other, like to see who was the biggest anti-trans person ever. And Ron DeSantis said, well, I'm doing this because I'm worried about little girls. I'm worried about the little girls. And Nikki Haley would have, men coming into the bathroom where your daughters are going. It's weird. It was just weird. They didn't talk about anything that anybody would care about. They didn't talk about abortion at all, because they know that's a losing argument for them. And that's how you know this was a right-wing stage thing, not just because Megyn Kelly was there, but because of the things that they didn't talk. They talked about these things that work with the MAGA audience, but nothing that works with the general American people for any of them to win a national general election. They're in a primary, and I get that, but you don't get from any of them on that stage that they'll make it past the primary. So what did we have? It wasn't so much a debate. It was just a showcase of all of the people who will not be getting the GOP nomination.
From Fly Nubian Queen platform, 45 will be president regardless if we like it or not. And for a man who's on try, he still leads in the polls.
Okay, let's talk about polls. We do this every now and then, sir. The polls, 160 million people voted in the last election. These polls are not polling more than 1,000 people. And when you look at who they're polling, the majority of the people that they're polling either are admittedly right of center or right. So, of course, it's going to look like he's leading in the polls. He's leading in the Republican polls for who's going to win, out of all the Republicans, because they're only asking Republicans. They're only surveying Republican voters or likely Republican voters. But these other polls, he's leading Biden. No, 1,000 people are not going to tell you what more than 160 million are with their vote. So to be able to say that this poll, where we just polled 1,000 people, the majority of them Republican, and we're going to say this is how Americans as a whole feel, it's just fundamentally wrong, because the polling is flawed. So Democrats are all the hand wringing and the pearl clutching about the polls. Chill. Anytime somebody says a poll or announces that they're doing a poll or whatever, go look back at the little fine print, see what the plus and minus is in terms of their margin of error. Anything more than 3%, you got to look at it kind of sideways. And if they're polling just like 1,000 people, it's not worth paying attention to when we know how many people voted.
Okay, and yeah, you clown says, okay, that makes sense. There you go. All right, good stuff. Well, it'll be very interesting to see again too what the future debates. Like I don't know who's paying attention to these. And Ramaswamy 45 said that he won the debate. So, and I guess because do you think Ramaswamy wants to be the vice presidential candidate?
I don't know what he wants. I think he just I honestly, I think that he's being paid. If Trump has nothing but praise to unleash on this man, I'm suspecting that he's just there to be a spoiler
Okay.
because he has no real path to winning. You know, I mean, he's not even he doesn't even have 10%. How's he ending up on these stages that some of these other folks couldn't get? I mean, let's be very clear. The fact that Vivek's still there and Tim Scott isn't, Tim Scott's there, not there. The only reason Tim Scott's not there is because people were asking about Tim Scott not having a girlfriend, and then it backfired in their face when they saw the girlfriend that he brought. Honestly, it was Mindy that sunk Tim Scott's chances, okay? Because I don't think that the Republican donors that were behind Tim Scott knew what kind of women Tim Scott dated. They just wanted him to get prove he wasn't gay. They didn't realize that Tim Scott's girlfriend would probably be white because that's his history. I guess that shocked a lot of people. So they're just like, oh yeah, you know what? We're Tim Scott's done. Vivek Ramaswamy should be long done, because he tries to go even further than Trump. But Trump loves him because what does he do? He's making all of the arguments there, so Trump doesn't have to. Trump's not showing up to these debates, not just because he's ahead, because remember, Donald Trump cannot help himself. Cannot help himself. If people were going to say things about him, he would go after them. He would be compelled to be there. There's a reason he's not there. And my thinking is the reason he's not there is because Vivek is. And Vivek's doing the work for him.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's get out of the political stack and let's talk about an unfortunate incident, another mass killing in America. Police.
Yeah, at this point, we've had more mass shootings than we've had days in the year in this country. And this, I'm still trying to get all the details on this. This was a professor who killed other professors at the school. No students were shot. But you've got parents who are thinking long and hard as to whether or not they're going to send their students back to campus next semester. Okay, you've got a whole campus that, just the same month where it's 11 years since Sandy Hook, and then there's a whole bunch of other mass shootings. Remember, Las Vegas is the site for that deadliest mass shooting where 60 people were killed at that concert. Okay, so at what point does it become enough? Basically, what we have said here is that, you know what? We're just not going to do anything about it. We've had enough, but we're going to agree to not do anything about it. And it's sad because there is not one aspect of American social life, political life, economic life, work life, period, where you can go and feel like you are safe from gun violence. You can't even be in your home, in your bed, as we saw in Kentucky, right? Sleeping in your bed, Breonna Taylor, and not be killed. So where can we be safe from gun violence? Nowhere in this country. And to say that, oh, it's so far gone and this and that, the Second Amendment is not absolute. We need to stop treating it as, just like we know the First Amendment is not absolute, because criminals don't have the unabashed access to their First Amendment rights. So why should the Second Amendment be treated that way? And like we said before on this show, you have to have a license to do anything in this country. anything and everything except have a gun. You know, everybody knows Lala's a realtor. She has to have a license to sell houses. You have to have a license to teach. You have to have a license to cut hair, but not to own a gun.
Interesting analogy. As we look into 2024, do you see any hope in this area for America?
No, no. I think that we put it this way. December 12th is a day of remembrance in my state because that's when Sandy Hook happened in 2012. I'm sorry, yeah, December 14th. And what I take from that is that if the sight of 6-year-olds being murdered or the thought of 6-year-olds being piled on top of each other in a classroom bathroom after being slaughtered by an assault weapon, and they're all in there dead, the exception of one child who hid beneath her friends and smeared blood on herself so that she wouldn't be killed. If that doesn't move us to doing anything, to knowing that a 6-year-old boy was hit 11 times by AR-15, 11 times, 6-year-old body. You know how tiny those bodies are. If that doesn't move us to do anything about it, babies, then nothing will.
Wow, it's not an optimistic outlook, but
Grandparents, think about it. We look at the racially motivated shooting in Buffalo. Most of those people were grandparents. If grandparents and babies don't push us to doing something, then why should we expect that anything will happen?
okay. All right, our last conversation story for today is AP African American Studies reworked amid controversy. So when Aisha shared with me this on our back channel, I said, like, this story was a few months ago. But no. So Aisha, get us up to speed on this one.
Okay, so remember they were changing the AP standards before for African American history because the whole thing was, remember, Florida wanted them to say that there was some benefit to slavery and, you know, in their standards and all of that. So what they ended up doing now was they came out with these standards where they're going to have a sports and racial justice component, but racial justice won't be looked at by itself. It will be looked at in the context of sport. So basically, they're adding Colin Kaepernick to the AP standards, but not Black queer theory, and Black Lives Matter is optional. Those are the new standards. So, in other words, people are going to decide what parts of Black history and Black lives are important enough to mention and what's important enough to omit. And the sad part about that is that as long as you can control a people's history and their story, you can control a people. And that's exactly what this is doing. And it's not just Black people, you know, when they do this, they also hurt white children too, because they don't know any better and they don't get to learn about people outside of themselves and not see history where they're centered.
Okay. So Regina says, I thought they removed reparations too.
Oh yeah, they removed reparations. They absolutely did. But they put in these new things. But this new thing, I guess they, you know what it is, they did what they typically do with things. It's like if we say, hey, we want more Black people to do this and or in these positions of power, and they're like, oh well, you know what? How about we just make we'll give a Black sports figure a big lifetime achievement award, and you people can be happy. That's what it kind of feels like here. It's like, oh well, we'll just throw Colin Kaepernick in and his whole taking a knee thing, but you can't talk about Black Lives Matter. It's optional. So if you throw in Colin Kaepernick and you don't put in Black Lives Matter, you don't understand why he's even there. Because remember, he got booted behind that.
Yeah. But this one doesn't seem to ever go away.
No, it doesn't. And you know, it's not going to go away until they make this course go away. AP African American Studies has been around for a long time. And this tells you a lot about where we are in this country now, because now these are things that people want to get rid of. When they've been in existence, and you know,
But who wants to get rid of them, really and truly?
The people who are most worried about the fact that this country by 2030, 2035, 2040 will be 52% people of color, 48% white. As it stands right now, the majority of children 18 and under are people of color.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. So I guess there are a group of people very scared about that.
Very much, because guess what? If the country changes that way, what also changes are how people vote will change. And if how people vote changes, especially if the majority of people are color and they start to seek representation and people that look like themselves in positions of power, what changes eventually are the mechanisms of power and the ownership of that particular power. And you're looking at people who feel like their time is running out in control of holding that power. And what is the thing that, and when you talk to them, what is the thing they're most afraid of? And it always amazes me to get this answer. It's like they're afraid that the people who have been marginalized will flip the script on them and do to them the things that have been done to us as people of color, marginalized communities. But you have these conversations, and it's amazing to me because they're very surprised that no, we just want to be left alone. Really? You don't want revenge? No, I just really want to be left alone.
Okay, Regina is on fire today. Have a problem with this history being taught as AP curriculum only. I taught these topics in conjunction with Black literature as an ELA teacher. However, I taught in a 95% Black-brown district. I need some education. What is AP, African American Studies?
Advanced placement.
Okay.
So this means that these students who take this, there's an additional fee for these courses. But when they take them at the end, they pass an exam that will provide them with college credit that they can then transfer to the colleges and universities of their choice. Now, there are districts that do have African American Studies programs as electives, but again, it's not required history. My high school did when I was in high school. I do know that in the state of South Carolina, they have a state mandate that requires African American history to be incorporated into the curriculum. However, they don't do it very well. When I was actually teaching 5th grade there, the African American books, the books for the African American history to integrate it into the curriculum were in a cabinet and had never been opened. And so I think it makes people uncomfortable to have to teach a course that they don't feel comfortable teaching. And that's the other thing too, is that, if in a lot of these districts, particularly when the districts don't have a large minority population in the classroom, these history lessons fall on white people to teach, more specifically white women. And if they don't feel comfortable teaching them, they avoid teaching them altogether. And Regina's making a very good point. It is a college credit course, and the fees waived in many high schools these days. The challenge, though, is that you have a state like Florida where Ron DeSantis said they will no longer pay for it. The families are going to have to pay for it if they want to. And Sarah Sanders tried to do the same thing in Arkansas and said that it will no longer, just AP African American Studies, no other one, just that one, won't be paid for by the districts anymore. And so I have a feeling that's the next thing, Regina, that they're going to try and rescind now that the fee is waived in many high schools, especially in Black and brown districts where a lot of the families can't afford to do it. They're going to start making it. They're going to take away the fee waiver.
So this is another thing. How much, again, I've been observing American news. Is the school classroom one of the new battlefronts for the next election?
Well, remember too, and I've said this before, we pay so much attention to our bigger elections, our national elections, our federal elections. So our president, the House Representatives, the Senate. On the local level, remember, you also have your state house and your state senate and your governor. But on the district level, that's where these moms for liberty people are going. They're going to these school board, these school board offices and trying to do that. Why? Because that directly gives them the control over being able to what's taught in the classroom, what courses are offered, what textbooks are offered, what books they're going to ban. And that is where they found their wheelhouse. Thankfully, they lost all their races this last time, right? But except for one. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to stop trying. Wherever there is a school district, there is a school board race that year.
There you go. Well, I think that is a good way to end off this episode of Primetime Saturdays with Aisha LaLa. As always, a great conversation. I want to thank everyone who watched live or on the replay on all the different platforms, especially Fly Nubian Queen. We had a good contingent of live viewers on Fly Nubian Queen. So before we sign off, a few things. So Aisha, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Instagram at AK Staggers. You can also find me on our Discord channel. So email Dr. Vibe and join the Discord. And if you want to become an exclusive member of our Patreon, I'm putting up content there too.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. That is beautiful. And as I said, we're going to put up all the information. I'm just going to show it again. The Primetime Saturdays Discord group, email dr.vibe at the dr.vibe.show. Also, Primetime store. There's a link there, but it's also in the comments section on any platform that you've watched this. Watched it. It's there in the comments section. Also, subscribe to the Patreon channel, get a lot of exclusive content. I'm even going to be putting exclusive content in there too. So looking forward to that. And I don't think we've got anything. Did we cover it? We got, yes, email the Discord group, and also too, program alert. Starting January 6th, 2024, Primetime Saturdays with Aisha LaLa will start at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. So a few last things before we let it go. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also, you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm on, please email me dr.vibe at the dr.vibe.show.com. And as always, this is how we close off all the conversations that I'm on. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Share the show out, watch replays, tell everybody about it. Get on the Patreon list, get on the Discord list, get on an email list. Just get on. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith and walk good. And thanks again, Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia.